Hello folks and welcome to a brand new series on the channel. This is going to be a monthly roundup of incident analysis, various different incidents across various different formulas across the world that I watch. This will be sort of me looking at the incident, maybe deeming who's at fault, who to point the finger at, or whether it's a racing incident. And yeah, this should take us all over the globe with lots of different styles of racing. So let's get straight into it. Okay, first up, we're at Road Atlanta, and this is the first time that the Toyota GR Cup North America has visited there. A fantastic circuit for one-mate racing, especially. You've got that long back straight that sort of go over the crest and dive down on the brakes into a tricky chicane. It's a brilliant circuit with an amazing flow to it, and Toyota GR Cup is always very competitive as well. And for the most part, the nature of the championship is very clean. It's fierce racing, but there's never usually, in my opinion anyway, anything that oversteps the line. This incident was a bit of a strange one. This is Spike Colbecker, who absolutely dominated the first race. He was not having that same fortune in the second one here, and he's having a battle with Ramos, and they come through turn one. We take a look. Come through turn one. Spike's on the outside. He looks like he's just in front there as they exit T1. And up the hill, it's a good run from Ramos. The pair are door to door going now into turn two, and then again, and then Ramos here just sort of just moves him over. He squeezes him onto the grass, and it's quite a big hit into the tyres. You know, you're flat out coming down the hill. You can see many other cars there getting sideways as they come down as well. So it's a corner where you don't usually go side by side, and that's why. And Ramos didn't seem to give Spike any room at all. So if we have a look back, coming up now into T2 or T3, depending on how you look at it, Ramos clips the curb there. Spike's still there. There's not really any contact with Spike on the inside. And then as it's the inside for Ramos, I don't know whether he's just misjudged this because Spike was clearly alongside. I don't know whether he's just a misjudgment of the amount of room there is to the left of him. But it's quite clear that he moves over on him. And yeah, I mean, this camera angle isn't really the best. If we pause it here, we can see that there's plenty of room for Spike Colbecker to move left at this point. And if we take it a bit further, the moment of contact looks like it's there. And there's still room for Spike to move to the left a touch, but you don't want to be doing that because if you drop a wheel on that curb, on that grass, you're going round as you turn right for the very fast downhill section. And also, if we look at the two that are side by side behind, they're practically in the exact same line here. That looks like, who is that? Is that Colby and Maley? I might be behind, and they're in pretty much the exact same wheel tracks as the two in front. Ramos then just shovels him out of the way. And I'm not sure the damage was too bad in the end because of the big tyre bundles, but if they weren't there, that would have been a huge hit into the concrete. Both were out of the race, and that brought a stop to the race as well, essentially with heavy rain coming. And the two behind did very well to avoid the pair going off as well, but it was very clumsy, very avoidable, and quite a decent hit as well. A real shame there. Spike Colbecker as well, championship leader, so a real dent in his lead as well. So yeah, real shame that accident. Yeah, for me it looks like it's on Ramos there. You know, this was the second race of the weekend. First race, no one had any issues going side by side through there. Yeah, you know the risk if you're doing that. So to move left like that and just yeah ram someone off the road and take yourself out in doing so, it looked to me anyway that Ramos was clearly at fault there. Right, next up then, we're off to Donington Park, which is my local circuit and my favourite as well. Across any continent for me is just a spectacular circuit, especially from a viewing perspective. If you're a fan, get yourself down there. There are so many vantage points where you can see brilliantly what's going on the circuit, particularly if you go in, get at Starkey's as well. It is a tremendous sight in motorsport. It really is, seeing the cars dance down the hill on the edge, on the limit, flick it through the right-hander, and then disappear, accelerating up towards McLean's. It's just brilliant. But this was a truly bizarre incident. After the checkered flag, start-finish straight, Gary Wardle were in the CNC Heads and Sports and Saloon Car Championship. This is a TCR Audi crossing the line in 6th place, but this is a truly bizarre incident, so let's take a look. So we can see here the camera picks him up coming out of the chicane. This is the national configuration, so it's just the chicane, not the left at the end of the straight where you turn to the GP loop through the Jim Clark S's. Checker flag is clearly being waved here. Then Gary, there you go, just snaps right, bang into the wall. Huge hit, nearly digs in and goes over as well. Now it's such a strange incident because out of the chicane, there's no issue, no sign of a problem. Over the line, and it just snaps right on him, and it's such a big hit. We're glad Gary was okay. Here we go again, look. Just goes on him. Now, my theory here is that Gary doesn't realise it's the checkered flag. That's my theory, because he's clearly still accelerating after it, whereas the car in front looks to have dropped the pace a bit. And I think it's that catches Gary out, and he has to hit the brakes, and in doing so, it's just gone on him. That's my thought anyway. I think he's clearly hit the brakes because you can see there's a point. I'll try and pause it where the car just leaps forward. Let's see there. You can see there the point's going right. The weight of the car is clearly at the front, in my opinion. So I think he's definitely hit the brakes. The closing speed for me, I think the car in front just slows down like you would after the checker. Gary doesn't. He's still accelerating. And in order to avoid going straight through the car in front, he's hit the brakes and had a much bigger incident himself. I mean, it could be a failure. There could be some sort of failure there that's made it go on him as well. Maybe it is a brake failure. He's hit the brakes and there's no response, so he's had to flick it right. But I mean, it all happens so quickly, and the moment that goes on him, he's an absolute passenger, and that's a hard hit in the wall. So yeah, the TCR Audi is looking very worse for wear there. We're just glad that Gary was okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not a very flattering theory on Gary mine, but I do think that he might have not seen the checkered flag. And it does happen. It can happen. He's so focused on the car in front, you just lose track of what lap you're on, and yeah, just like that. But yeah, we're glad Gary's okay because that was a big hit. We're still at Donington for the next one, and this is in fact just a couple of hours later in the day. This is the Nankan Tyre BMW Super Cup, and it's Aidan Hassan, who I believe was leading the way at this point. It's the opening lap of the race. They're about to hit the chicane. It's raining, it's just started raining, and they're on slick tyres. There you go, wipers are on, look, we can see that. Turns through the right, no problem. Turns through the left, on the curb, massive sideways. Recorrects it, overcorrects it into the tyres. You can see all the water there coming off the bales as well. And it's up and on its side. Yeah, another sizable hit there at Donington this weekend. Again, we can see everyone's got the wipers on. So it's just started raining. The separate class behind had a few issues at the old hairpin. They had a few going off there. So, the wet was clearly an issue. We can see he's turned through the right with very little issue. And he's, as they do, you try and cut this chicane. You try and cut the left of the chicane as much as you can to optimise your exit onto the start-finish straight. And I think in doing that, he's found a wet patch, look, because, I mean, that just snaps on him. Obviously, BMW's rear-wheel drive, it's tough to gather at this point when it snaps on you like that. But it's not gradual, it is sudden, and it is just a big moment. Now, the sad thing is, we pause it here, and Aidan Hassan is turning right to correct this, but the way the car's facing, he's going straight. There's not much of a need to overcorrect it. He's sliding through the corner. I think he could have been a bit more gentle with the steering input here because, it's clear it's a massive overcorrection. As it grips up, that's what sends him off and into the tyres. So I think a bit more of a gentle steering input here because he's got to realise that he's sliding, the back end stepping out on him. But it's not the end of the world. We look behind, I think it's Kane Astin as well, has got basically the exact same moment. He's found that same wet patch and having the same moment as him. He's a lot more gentle. He sort of lets the slide just sort of, gather itself together. And, yeah, and he's fine to carry on with the rest of the race. But Aidan Hassan, it grips up. Oh, sends him into the tyres. Oh, man. Let's just take one more look at it. It's Thorburn Aston, sorry, not Kane Aston. Kane Aston's the Mini 7 driver. One more time, wipers on, it's wet. There, look, but just let it bring itself. It's so close. I think he is coming out of it. He is coming out of turning right because he does realise that, yeah, this will sort of cancel itself out because it's sliding the way I want to go in the end, and it's just a second too late. It grips up and fires him off right. Another unfortunate incident at Donington in that BRSCC weekend, but again, thankfully Aidan was alright. Those tyres there doing a good job of somewhat cushioning the impact, although taking it onto its side. I think it did look worse than it actually was. Taking a trip back across to the States now, and this is for the brand new Rally X Americas that they're trying to start up. Rally X has been going for a few years now in Europe, particularly the Scandinavian countries, and it's got a brilliant following. FIA European Rallycross is sort of stealing the limelight again this year, but Rally X is still going good. Particularly good numbers in the open two-wheel drive category as well, so that's always a good watch. But yeah, over in America and at Crandon International Raceway, the brand new Rally X Americas has started, and this is Timmy Hansen in the old Nitro Cross style of car, if you remember Nitro Cross. And it's a big shunt, this one. We're with the drone here, and he's following Michaela Arlen Kotelinski in the yellow car in front, and we come over the jump, and there you go. The car is launched onto its side, and then a series of rolls. They build the cars very tough, as you can see. Not that much bodywork actually coming off the car there, so it's still in relatively good nick, I suppose, considering the amount of rolls it's just done. But we take a look again, and it's just a misjudgment. Timmy Hansen's one of the best rallycross drivers in the world, former world champion, and he just misjudges it. He's close to the back of Michaela, and he's trying to optimise the inside line for the next left-hander, and he clips the tyres, which launches the car onto its side. Then, as it sorts itself out, coming back down now to the contours of the land going down the hill, it unfortunately digs in and goes into a series of rolls. So, a very unfortunate one, and it's just a misjudgment. I mean, this was the semi-final, so he's been driving that all weekend, and so he knows where the tyres are. But when you're the fourth car in the queue, you've got all that dirt and dust being sprayed up in front of you, and it's lap one, so he's really close to the back of Michaela as well. So yeah, it's just an unfortunate incident. I suppose it wouldn't be an instant analysis compilation without a bit of Indycar. Now, this was a fantastic race. Road America always delivers one of the best road courses they go to, one of the best road tracks in the world, probably. It's a fantastic circuit. We had a one-lap dash to the flag after some drama, much like we did at the Indy 500. And this incident is involving Will Power and Graham Rahal, two long-time stalwarts of the IndyCar business now. And if we look, the start, I've brought it back a few corners. The incident's going down into Canada corner, and I've brought it back to the turn before the carousel because we look, Power has got past Rahal and then overshoots, he's ran wide a couple of corners later. So Power's now off on the marbles on the outside, on the runoff. As he comes back on, Rahal sweeps around the outside and reclaims that third place. Rahal looking for another podium this season. It's been a very on and off. He's been on the podium, then off it, on the podium, then off it. But some very strong results. Now, Power, he's on the button. He's got push to pass. Rahal doesn't. Down to Canada corner, through the kink. So quick. Yeah. Contacts, Rahal fired off into the wall, into the gravel. With just a couple of corners to go. And that's his race done. Full course caution was out. Christian Lundgaard won the race from being last at the end of lap one. An incredible turn of events, really, across the course of the race. Marcus Armstrong was leading for the majority of the closing stages, and then his engine just blew on him. So that was absolutely disastrous for him. But let's take a look at the incident again. So remember, Power's run wide, and he's got the dirty tyres now, you'd think, from going off onto the runoff where the marbles have been kicked out. But he's got more push to pass. Rail's got nothing left. Power's got about 15-ish seconds of it. Through the kink, he's on it all the way. Power is on the button. Look, you can see we go on board. He's gaining. Rahul's a bit of a sitting duck, you think, at this point. Defense to the inside. Power moves to the outside. And Rahul moves back across. We'll see if I can get an onboard of this. Here we go. Onboard then with willpower. Gaining. Rahul's covered the inside, so Power goes to the outside. And Rahul moves across. It's on Rahul, isn't it? I mean, I'd probably deem it a racing incident, if I'm honest, because there's not much of a movement, and Power's late on the brakes himself. At the end of the day, Power he does go into the back of Rahul, but it's because Rahul moves. This is a good point to pause it here. Power's got enough of a gap there. And if we take it forward, Rahul does move across. So it's more on Rahul than it is Power, but when it's podium position fighting with literally 2 corners to go, there's not much in it, is there? I can see why Rahul would be frustrated because Power's late on the brakes. But for me, Rahul, you've got to not move across there. You've already covered the inside line. You've got to stay on the inside line. Power goes to the outside. The sensible thing to do if the inside's covered off. He can't just sit there. He's fighting for a podium. He's late on the brakes, as you would be. Rahul chops across him. Power ploughs into him. Off Rahul goes into the wall, into the gravel. Now we're off to mainland Europe. We're at the Lausitz Ring for one of the most competitive one-mate championships there is out there. Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland, or Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. Title protagonists. Alex Tauscher and Flint Schuring, 2 of the best in Carrera Cup racing. They've proven that over Germany's Super Cup. You name it, they've been there and got the t-shirt. Right, Schuring them on the inside for this left-hander. Tauscher's going to be late. He's got a good run there. Look, decent side draft. Very decent side draft. And he's later on the brakes as well. Keaton Masters is your race leader in front of the pair. Now, at this point... yeah, it's such an unfortunate incident. I paused then because I was watching it like for the first time again. It was as if I'd never seen that incident before. But we go back. Tauscher around the outside of the hairpin. Schuring's bottled up behind Masters. Tauscher then, he's pushed to the curb by Schuring, but it's nothing, he doesn't shove him off the track. It's just showing in the edge of the road. Tauscher doesn't go off track. So that's all fine. There's nothing wrong with that there. But then, as we go through that little kink at the right-hander, it is a pinch point. If you're side by side through there, it is a pinch point. The car on the outside will naturally turn across you if they're a bit too aggressive, which Schuring is there. I mean, these 2 drivers very rarely get into incidents because they are 2 of the best. But this is fully on Flint Schuring. Tauscher does nothing wrong here because he's still got, at least half his car up the inside by the time they reach that right-hand kink. And Schuring just turns across him. My thought would be, because Tauscher does kick up a little bit of the dust there on exit of the left-handed hairpin, I think Schuring's going to assume he's going to lose momentum. And I think by the time they reach this right-hander, Schuring thinks he can just come across, claim the line, and claim the position. He is wrong, of course, because Tauscher is still there. And Tauscher's got nowhere to go when Schuring comes across him. He can't just disappear. And unfortunately, that's contact, and they're both out of the race. Tauscher goes hop, skipping, and jumping, gets airborne over the bumpy grass. Schuring is stuck in the gravel, and that throws the title battle wide open in Carrera Cup Germany now. So, a massive turning point in the season, and it comes at the Lausitz Ring, a track with little grip. It's fast, it's flowing, it's very technical. And we can easily catch drivers out. Chester Kiefer and Marcus Amond at turn 1. Kiefer was wild there. But I chose that one because it's the biggest talking point, the title contenders. It's on Schuring, but thankfully not too bad in terms of damage. Yeah, only a bit of dented pride for the pair of them there. Next up then, we're off to Wales. We're going to Anglesey for the BRSCC. And this is one of my favourite one-mate championships there is in Britain. It's one of my favourite to watch. It's the AirTech Fiesta ST240s, and these are just little pocket rockets with... They're just wild. They're so lively and so hard to keep pointing in the right direction, as we'll see here. They've had a number of big accidents across recent seasons because of that, the nature of how they are to drive. I was lucky enough to witness them at Donington last year. One of the big accidents was there. I saw it. I stood at the crane of curves on the banking. My dad was at the old hairpin at Starkey's where I usually would be, but I fancied a different view for that race because you could see the cars literally, the rears were bouncing on them as they were coming down the hill, down the Craners and into the old hairpin. They were literally bouncing on them. Gary Miller lost it because of that. Luke Waugh lost it because of that. There were two that literally directly in front of me got sideways down the Craners at a heart-stopping moment. And that was before the accident, which was Chris Blackburn, who isn't racing this season, off at the old hairpin, just ran wide, and then he's off in the grass, in the gravel, and then the car just it started bouncing on him. The rear bounces, and he was a complete passenger into the barriers, nose on, sort of mid-air as well, into the tyres, up and over, and landed on top of the tyres as well. It was a big shunt. But yeah, these are absolutely fantastic. This incident, there's sort of two separate ones because the main one I'm looking at is between Simon Horrobin and Sean Reynolds, and it happens because of an incident involving Brady Pollock in front. So this is a reverse grid race as well, so you've got some of the slower guys off the front. And watch the red car on the inside. I know there's a few red cars, but the red one there, right on the inside, that's Marco Ricci, number 15. You can see now Pollock runs into the back of him and has a massive sideways on. This stacks the pack up, and then we're watching the grey and then the yellow and grey car, and they come together behind. You can see Reynolds is off on the right, Horrobin's off on the infield. Now, we'll have to take it back because a lot goes on. But again, if we watch the 15 car here, Pollock behind there in the orange and black, he misjudges that the closing speed between himself and Richie in front. Richie's taking it a bit steadier into turn one, which is probably the wiser thing. Pollock sort of comes steaming round, clips the back of him, and gets himself into a colossal slide, which he does incredibly well to save. This obviously is going to stack them all behind. Look, it stacks them all up. Now, Horrobin in the grey, he notices it's stacking up, and he's trying to cut to the inside line to play in the line for the hairpin coming up. The banking, I think they call that angle C. He doesn't realise Reynolds is there. It's very similar to the Carrera Cup incident we just looked at, really, in the case that Reynolds can't go anywhere. He can't disappear. I mean, this is obviously on the straight, this part, this instance on the straight instead of a corner. But again, just watch Horrobin. He's centre of the road, and then he just moves across because it's bunched up in front. He's got Foxlow and Kelly in front of him, and he's got a good run because he's further back. He's not had to hold up as much because of the slide of Pollock in front. So he's trying to use the good run to his effect and cut to the inside. But he just doesn't realise that Reynolds is there again. Yeah, it's just unfortunate coming together again. But nothing Reynolds could do, and Reynolds spearing off back across the track onto the outside, and Horrobin off on the infield there before the banking. A lucky boy not to speed up on the grass there and be collected by anybody. Thankfully, he was able to stop just as the pack went past. Yeah, crisis averted, but an unfortunate incident. But you would have to look at Horrobin there, just not quite aware of Reynolds to the right of him. Okay, next up on the list then is a trip back over to North America. We're at Watkins Glen for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Series, and this was an ugly crash. So brace yourselves and prepare to wince for this one. Coming up through probably the hotbed for Watkins Glen accidents, you've rounded turn one, and you come up through the sweepers. It's fast, it's windy, and it's easy to be caught out on your own, let alone when you're dicing away hard with someone. I'm not an avid follower of the Super Trofeo Series, so I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciations here, but this is Dovic and Barkley, and they're battling for, I think, around P5 here, so they're quite high up in the order. So, without further ado, yeah, get ready to wince. Now, it's Dovic in the orange, and he's through on the inside, and there's just a bit of contact there as he comes back across to reclaim the line. He's into the barrier hard, and unfortunately, coming back into the track, and that is an enormous shunt, a huge hit. Red flags were unsurprisingly brought out for this one. Now we have a look again. He's through, and he's cleanly as well. He's through clean. And Barkley behind, he's doing the sensible thing at this point. He knows that he's conceded the position, so he's tucking back in behind. And this is extremely beneficial for him to do so because of the big straight that is coming up just as they round the final right-hander of the uphill section. So looking to optimise that, get a good slipstream and tow into the braking zone. At the very least, maintain a very close distance if he's not going to be able to have a challenge on the brakes. So he's doing the sensible thing in tucking back in behind here, but it's just a slight misjudgment from Bartley. I've said that word a lot in this video, misjudgment, but those are the most appropriate words here. That's not intentional. Bartley, he's not just purposely cut across him there and wiped him out. He's tucked back in. It's the sensible thing to do. Like I said, for that slipstream, but he's not. Dovic isn't fully clear, and Dovic as well having the tighter line because they're coming through the left. So Dovic has got the tighter line. Bartley's gonna cut back and have more speed, especially because it does look like Dovic might clip the curb a little bit. So let's take a look. Dovic is on the inside. Does he clip the curb? Slightly. There's a very small clip of that curb, and something as small as that could be enough to cause Dovic to lose literally like 0.5 of a mile an hour, and Bartley's into the back of him. Now I want to talk about into the wall. It's a nasty impact into the barrier as it is for the first time. And then Dovic, unfortunately, he could try and be on the. I don't know if he is on the brakes. Actually, it's hard to see with the orange paint scheme. But I think most drivers would, you're just letting the incident sort itself out. But unfortunately, with doing that, the way the camber is as well, you can see there's a natural camber, so he's coming back down to the inside line. And when you've got, these are Lamborghinis at the end of the day, they are shifting at quite a speed, and there's nothing they can do. The two behind the green. I'm not sure on the drivers, unfortunately, in this one for the second part of the incident. But this is an almighty shunt, and the worrying thing is as well is you can see when the Dovic car gets spun back around after the hit. This is the worst position that this could have been, really. If we look at it, we pause it in the contact there when you can see when Dovic's car is spun back round. We pause it, you can see the contact is predominantly the left front quarter, and that's where he's sat. So it's driver's side, and it's not horizontal, it's not rear. It's pretty much, the impact is pretty much on him. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. The fact that the drivers are okay, obviously red flag there was no other option but to red this one. And get as many safety teams and ambulances on the scene as quickly as possible. But yeah, an almighty shunt. And like I said, Dovic here, I don't know whether he's on the brakes. It doesn't look like he is. Like I said, most drivers there would just let the incident sort itself out, because that he's already in the barrier. He's spun around multiple times. You're probably disorientated. Let's face it, when you're going at such a speed as that, and you into the barriers multiple times, being flung around, he's probably just, it all happens so quickly. By the time he's even thought of applying the brakes, the green car has ploughed into the front of him. So yeah, a absolutely horrible sight. I was watching this live, actually. I said I'm not an avid watcher of this, but I saw it was on, and being a motorsport fan, I thought, yeah, sod it, why not? Let's whack this on and have a look. And it was a good couple of opening laps. And then unfortunately this incident was a very frightening watch indeed. Everyone in the live stream as well was particularly concerned, but we were all very glad and relieved to see that all drivers involved were out of the cars and indeed okay. Okay, time for the British Truck Racing Championship, and they paid their annual visit to Pembrey a couple of weeks back. Pembrey is a circuit that doesn't get used that much, really. If you look at the likes of the British Touring Car Championship, they've never been there. So Pembrey is very much reserved for rallycross events and club racing events. But the British trucks go there and provide some big rig entertainment for the Welsh crowd. This Michael Oliver here channeled his inner bowling ball with a very optimistic move into T1. T1 is the tightest of hairpins. Support package here, the likes of the Mini Coopers and the Junior Saloons have got to really slow down to take this corner. So you can imagine how hard it is in the trucks. And that's where you get a bit of sympathy for Michael Oliver in this one. So he's running third as they come over the line. It's the two teammates of Neil Yates, the heavy haulage boss, and Stephen Powell in P1 and 2. Now, Michael Oliver, a couple of trucks had tried this around the outside, but then he steams into the back of Neil Yates. I don't know. I can't imagine this is an intentional move to the inside on Yates. It looks as if Oliver's just outbraked himself in trying to get around the outside of Powell, trying a 2-for-1, and not only doing a 2-for-1, but
doing one on the outside and then the other on the inside would be an absolutely ludicrous thought to go through the mind of of a truck driver. So I hope that wasn't the thought. But we look again. He's got a good run into T1. There's a couple of times Stuart Oliver and David Jenkins were particularly menacing out of the final turn. They were getting good runs all weekend and really getting onto the back of the truck in front. But then, with the nature of the hairpin, the truck would just park it on the inside line down towards the hairpin. And you're not getting around the outside in a truck, are you? And if it looks like you are, the driver on your inside will probably just show you the grass anyway. So, yeah, it's very. He's just a hopeful, really, that, Oliver here is hopeful that Stephen Powell would give him the room, which he does. He does, but he's just too late on the brakes, look. Too late on the brakes. Oh, whoops. And then it locks before the incident happens, before the contact. You can see one of the reeds there taking the scenic route to avoid any damage and oil spill as well. Looks like there's a hefty load of liquid being dumped onto the circuit. Red flag was brought out instantly, which is very common in the trucks. But yeah, we look at again. As I said, trucks have been trying this around the outside all weekend. Around the outside on Powell, and he's clear Powell. And if Yates isn't there, part of me thinks Oliver would have got that stopped. At the very least, before making the grass. On whether he'd have kept the position, I don't know. But at the point of contact, he's clearly in front of Stephen Powell. I don't know whether Powell is backing out of it even more because he can see what's going to happen here. But he is in front. He is in second place. And yeah, he's just in a desperate attempt to make the corner. He's moved it to the inside, but in doing so, he's poor Neil Yates is the innocent party, and he's become a casualty in this incident. It's lovely for me to sit here and say that Oliver should just maintain the outside line if he knows he can't make the corner, and he's he's locked up the brakes, because then he won't plough into the back of Neil. But things happen so fast. It's tough for Michael to decide what to do, and he's probably thinking, "Oh, I can still make this. I can still make this." He's a feisty racer. I've watched this season. I've watched this championship for plenty of seasons now to know what the drivers are like, and I know that Michael Oliver is up there with the likes of Ryan Smith and David Jenkins in terms of the most aggressive on the grid. So he'll put his truck in any gap, really. He'll put his truck in a Fiat 500 size gap and hope that it will work. But that's why we love watching him. He's a great watch, is Michael Oliver. So yeah, I think he's just ever hopeful he's gonna make it. He's gonna make it. But yeah, the momentum he was carrying, he was late on the brakes anyway to try and get the move done around the outside of Stephen Powell, and just ploughs into the back of poor old Neil Yates, who was on for a rare win there. So a real shame as well, because it's a lot of damage as well with the looks like radiator might have bust there, fuel, or some sort of liquid was definitely spewing out as well. So a real shame for the pair of them, particularly poor old Neil Yates. Now, when I decided to come up with this incident analysis series for YouTube, I was aware that the 24 Hours of Spa was indeed coming up, and so I was expecting to have a rather lively time with them. I'm only going to do the opening lap incident. There were, of course, others throughout the course of the race. And indeed a couple in the GT4 European Series as well. This one, it sets in Pouhon on lap 1. I'm surprised they made it that far, if I'm honest. Coming through Eau Rouge Radion, down the Kemmel Straight, you got that tricky hard braking zone there as well, which is so easy to trip over one another. But everyone made it all the way around to Pouhon, and then we had the fireworks, the eruption, as you would perhaps expect. Maybe not to the extent, it's nowhere near to the extent of Monza, but still a sizable shunt. So let's have a look. As I said, it's coming out of Pouhon. We're on board here into Pouhon. And then as we exit, this is going to cut now to the drone. And then when we go back, lay up sideways Audi into the Aston Martin. And then there's a bit of chaos behind as well. BMW off and into the wall. And looks like there is an Aston Martin involved. Another Aston Martin involved as well. Yeah. A sizable shunt. Again, most drivers behind doing an incredible job to avoid it. Or, as you'd expect, there's a few running wide at Pouhon when 2 and 3 wide going into it. Someone's going to go over the outside, and it's a really bumpy runoff, as Ariel Levy demonstrates in the Audi. Ariel Levy I've watched for a few seasons in Carrera Cup Germany, Porsche Super Cup. So used to seeing him in Porsches instead of Audi GT3 machinery. But there's nothing he can do. I don't think there's any real driver error here. Like I said, drivers are going to be on the outside runoff, P1 on lap 1 with a 69 car grid, which is absolutely absurd. So he's off over the curbs. I mean, good luck catching that when it's gone. You can see, I'll show you an angle in a minute where he does clearly just wallop one of the bumps out on the runoff, and that sends him sideways and into the Audi of Jamie Day, not the Audi, sorry, the Aston, who very nearly goes over, which was unbelievable to think that this car then continued on in the race, and not only that, was one of the very few that was on the lead lap from the final hours. It shows you how everything can change in a 24 hours of Spa race. So the crew did an absolutely incredible job. The Valkenhorst crew, doing a phenomenal job to get that Aston back out. It was just a puncture in the end, I think it suffered. Bear in mind, it was on 2 wheels, sideways, horizontal across the middle of the track with, a good 20, 30 cars still to come. I'd imagine Jamie Day was rather nervous at that moment in time, but yeah, it's just a very lucky escape, really. Now again, this is going to happen quite quickly, but watch for the Audi, the grey Audi. Oh my word! There's an Aston behind there. You see the Aston, the yellow and green one, that's also off as well. He has the exact same bump as Levy does in front. Look at this. The Aston does it as well, but the Audi just clobbers it even harder, and that gets him sideways. And look at that, Jamie Day brings it, he spins 2 wheels, and then keeps it pointing in the right direction, and brings it back to the pit lane. It's exceptional driving from Jamie Day. But the instance behind is, I mean, there's not much I can analyse there. It's just the stack up. Chaos has erupted in front. Some drivers behind are going to be quicker to react than others who have got a better view of the incident unfolding. So unfortunately, bang into the back of the BMW goes the other Aston Martin, and they're into the wall, joining Ariel Levy. But it's absolutely unbelievable that this was not worse. But it's Jamie Day that is side by side with Levy, so it's Day that's put Levy there. If you want to look at it like that, but then the second that the curb has been clobbered, it's not even the curb, it's just the bump, the camber. Second that's been clobbered, there is nothing Levy can do. And as Jamie Day is really, really fortunate here. And like I said, maintaining the lead lap until into the closing hours of the race as well was an exceptional job from the crew. I mean, a lot happens, and yet I don't feel like there's much for me to analyse. Levy's out wide, over the bump, bang, sideways, nothing he could do, into Jamie Day, up onto 2 wheels, brings it back down, right direction. Somehow, that was a bit of good karma for what happened at Monza. I can tell you that as well, because if Monza wasn't so eventful and so damaging and expensive, that would have been much bigger. So the gods were very much on the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa's side there. I'm going to bring the video to a close with the FIA Formula Regional European Championship at Monza. And this was an incident battling for the lead in the final race of the weekend. I think rookie Oliveri is in the lead here. And then he's coming up against Nakamura Berta. They had a good battle in race 1, which Nakamura Berta had come out on top of. And this was at the first Lesmo, this incident, exiting the chicane. So let's see what happened for the final time for this June roundup. Oliveri in the lead, covers the inside as you do. Nakamura Berta moves to the outside as you do. Oh, the contact that spears Nakamura Berta off into the gravel and into the tyres, retiring from the race on the spot. It's a tricky one, and there's similarities here with the Indycar incident that I looked at with Ray Hall and Power, isn't there? In the sense that Oliveri, very much like Ray Hall, had covered the inside line. Nakamura Berta, much like Power, had chosen the outside, as you would. And then Oliveri, he does move back across. Well, let's have a look. Does he move across too much here? Let's see. Who's at fault, or is it just a racing incident? So again, exiting the chicane. Oliveri to the inside. And the guy in third place as well, Gomez, who was also in the battle in race 1, also moves to the outside. And Nakamura Berta does the same. What I would point out is if you look at the clock, there's still 22 minutes left plus a lap. So there is plenty of time left in this race, which means this incident is very, very clumsy, very unnecessary. It's not like a last lap dash where it's Hail Marys. This is very much a part of the race where you should be trying to find the rhythm. Yeah, you want to contest for the best position possible, but I think both parties will probably be kicking themselves here because at the end of the day, Oliveri was he continued on in the race, but it doesn't look great if you're involved in an incident with such time to go, and it's not an opening lap either. So at this point, Nakamura Berta, he's got the nose of the car, the front axle, front wing is alongside the rears of Oliveri, and we know this because that's how the contact happens. Because Oliveri comes back across. That sort of positioning going into the first Lesmo isn't uncommon. Having your front nose just to the outside of the car in front to try and duck back into the line. You're getting out the dirty air as you head into the corner, and you want to be all in the mirrors of the guy in front, don't you? You don't want to just follow him in the wheel tracks, making it easy as you like for him. So that is why Nakamura Berta's doing this. But I think, again, at this stage in the race, if you're Nakamura Berta, you've got to realise that gap is coming to a close. Oliveri, I don't think does anything right. I don't think he does much wrong. Mainly because this is not it's not a usual overtake. Nakamura Berta, I doubt his intention is to try and sweep it all the way around the outside at the first Lesmo, because that is a big risk, especially with so long in the race to go. So I very much think his intention would be to slot back in. Oliveri is doing the normal thing. You can't, he's gone to the inside, but that happens in almost any formula at Monza. You go to the inside to defend on the way into the Lesmo, and then you move back across to claim the line. The problem here is that Nakamura Berta's got his front axle alongside. And Nakamura Berta's quite lucky the car doesn't dig in and roll. It's quite a bumpy ride through the gravel. It looks a spectacular off. I'm trying to pause it. There's the point of contact. At the point of contact, Nakamura Berta, his entire car is still on the track. He doesn't have wheels on the grass. For me, it's a racing incident. For me, it is a racing incident. You could look at this and very easily blame it on Oliveri because he's come back across. Yeah. But that's natural to do in this corner, in this section of track. You exit the chicane, you cover the inside on the exit, and then you move back across to claim the line for the Lesmo. Because you know the car behind, unless there's some absolute daredevil on a last lap shootout, they're not going to try and send it around the outside, because then you're on the outside as well for Lesmo too. It very rarely happens. So I think if you're Nakamura Berta here, you've driven Monza all weekend. You've driven Monza before as well. It's not his first time at Monza. He will know that that's how that corner works. He will know that Oliveri will come back across to claim the line for the Lesmo, because Nakamura Berta does not have. He's not even half a car or alongside him. So I think Nakamura Berta here should be able to anticipate the movement from Oliveri and ultimately duck out of the move. But that is my take on it. Oliveri, yeah, you're moving across at your own peril. It depends how the stewards look at it at the end of the day. But Nakamura Berta, that's the nature of Lesmo. That's the nature of the car in front. He should be able to realise that that's what Oliveri will do. And Nakamura Berta does not have enough of his car on the outside for a challenge, really, into the first Lesmo. It's not on Nakamura Berta, but no, of course it's not. But I don't think it's on Oliveri either. It's an unfortunate racing incident between two of the big guns, clearly, who are fighting very, very hard. It's cracking racing until that point, just unfortunately boiled over there. And with that, that brings me to the end of the June Instant Analysis Roundup. I hope you've enjoyed. Please give me a like and subscribe, and drop a comment down below as well, and let me know which incidents you'd like me to look at for July. So I'll see you for the next one, guys. Thanks for watching.